As we noted before, we need to find our defects and fix them as early as we can. How do we do this? Well, we can't wait until testing. We have to do some sort of reviews. And there are several types of reviews that I'm going to be talking about now. And I'm going to arrange these from shortest to longest in terms of the delta T, the time between when you inject the defect and you find it. Right? The shortest, well, actually, we talked about peer review. That's when you hand your document off to the person across the hall and let them review it, and you get it back. The whole idea of the peer review is to get as many eyeballs looking at that work product as you can, because we know ours are untrustworthy. We know our eyeballs can't find the defects. We're blind to them. So we have to give the work product to other people to look at. And the more other people you give it to, of course, the bigger chance that you'll have to have found the defects. Okay? And peer reviews can take a very short amount of time because there's no overhead. You just hand it to the person, and then they spend a couple of minutes looking at the work product. And so you can get the results back in a matter of hours or at most days. An even shorter amount of time, though, is something called pair programming. And this is something we've seen used in some of the agile programming techniques, such as extreme programming. And the idea here is that a person doesn't work on a work product by him or herself, but in fact, we work in pairs. So if I am developing some work product, maybe it's a document, maybe it's design, maybe it's programming, whatever, I'm working together with another person. And each person is watching the other one. They're watching out for each other. And if, say, I'm working and my partner is watching me, and I make a mistake, that person will spot it right then, and we can fix the defect before it even gets into the work product. That's the whole idea of this pair programming. And I mean, it's kind of controversial because you got to pay two people to do the job of one. But when you think about the overall quality of the work product that you get out and the absence of defects, and you think about how expensive it is to fix the defects if they're in there, okay, in some cases, it can actually pay for itself to have people working together because you spot these defects immediately and they never even get in the work product to begin with. Okay, so the shortest amount of time would be the pair program because you almost instantaneously find the defects. Peer review is next. Walkthroughs are shorter, a little bit longer amount of time, and the amount of time that it takes to do the walkthrough is basically because you have to get a group of people together in a conference room. We'll talk about that in a second. Formal inspection is even longer time, and these external reviews are the longest time. The walkthrough is a form of review where you have a bunch of people coming in to a meeting. Right? The objective, obviously, is to find defects. But it's an informal review of the work product. Rather than sending the work product out to your peers and having them review the work product on their own, you bring them in together. The benefit of having them in a meeting in the same room is that when one person spots something, they bring that up, and it enables the other attendees to see that and sort of play off of that idea. Where they wouldn't have thought of something unless, except the other person mentioned it, then somebody else will spot something that otherwise they wouldn't have seen at all. And so you can actually find more defects because of the synergism, the people working together. The effect of the group is greater than the sum of each person working individually. Now, the attendees at these walkthroughs are obviously the developer of the work product, the technical leader, probably not the manager. Now, what I mean by manager is the personnel manager, the person who has to evaluate the person whose work is being reviewed, maybe the person who controls their salary, the person who controls their promotions. If the manager, because you can probably guess what would happen if that manager, that personnel manager, was in the meeting, then it could stifle the process. Could affect the process at any rate. If, for example, if the people in the meeting liked the person whose work was being reviewed, they may be less than eager to spot defects or to call out defects in the work product because they wouldn't want to make the person look bad in front of the manager. Right? They'll hold off, and then after the meeting they'll sort of tell the developer of the work product about the defects they found. Or if they didn't like the guy, railroad him and make him look really bad in front of his manager. All right, so either way, you're going to have, it's going to affect the process. You don't want that to happen. So normally we don't invite the personnel managers. Now, what do you do in the case where the personnel type manager is also the technical lead? Then this person has to work that out. But I think the bottom line is the people in the meeting have to realize that this is a normal process of reviewing the work, and we're reviewing the work product, and we're not reviewing the person. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to accomplish, but that's the whole idea. Certainly other members of the project team, maybe somebody from QA just to watch the process, maybe testing and technical writers and whatever other people would be involved, maybe for educational purposes, as we talked about before. Usually these meetings last less than 2 hours because there's a sort of a point of diminishing returns about that. It sets in about that point, and you sort of lose focus. So it would be better if you have a large work product to sort of break that up into a bunch of 2-hour meetings. Okay. Now, another thing about these walkthroughs is normally the materials that are being reviewed will be sent out to the reviewers in advance of the meeting. So they're supposed to have some time to do preparation, a couple of hours before the meeting to read through the work product and find any minor defects, and that you don't even take up time in the meeting to discuss minor defects, just major defects. And so these minor defects, you just sort of list them and mark up the document or whatever, and hand your markups to the author. A more formal kind of review is called a formal inspection. Okay. The formality comes in, one aspect is in defined roles. We clearly have moderator roles. A moderator is somebody that's trained to facilitate these kinds of meetings. Okay, so they look at the goals of and keep in mind the goal of the inspection, and the moderator facilitates the meeting to keep things on track and everybody on task. You have somebody that reads the document, the work product being reviewed. In the walkthrough, it's frequently the developer that reads his or her own work. In the inspection, quite often, and this is the way it was defined by Michael Fagan, the inventor of inspections, he's suggested that the developer do not read his or her own work, but in fact somebody else should read it. For the same reason that we gloss, the psychological reason that we gloss over our own mistakes when we're proofreading them, well, when the presenter is presenting the work for the inspectors, if the presenter is the developer, then he or she may gloss over his or her own mistakes. But a reader, somebody else, may stumble on those mistakes, and that's good because now you can spot them a lot more easily. Certainly, you're going to have inspectors, some number of inspectors. Somebody who's looking out for the standards, because after all, why do we have standards? Because it helps promote quality, and so maybe somebody would look out for that. And a recorder. This person is a scribe. This person takes notes, takes the minutes of the meeting, and after the meeting is over, those notes, the list of defects, goes to the person, the developer of the work product, for fixing. So all time is accounted for. Is tracked. These are metrics that could be used to manage the project and the process. All defects are logged and tracked. The responsibility for fixing them goes to the developer, but the moderator is responsible for making sure the defects are fixed. And so the moderator sort of keeps after the developer to check to make sure that the developer has in fact fixed everything. Sometimes we have so many defects found in these inspections that the moderator might suggest that, well, let's re-inspect the whole thing after the developer fixes them, because essentially it's a new work product. The top of the list was these external reviews in terms of the length of time. Actually, it was on the bottom of the list, I guess. I had done that earlier page. The form of review that takes the longest amount of time for preparation and so forth is these external reviews, customer reviews. Customers normally don't attend any of the other kinds of reviews, the walkthroughs and inspections and so forth. But customers do attend these external reviews. That's why we call them external. Okay. Generally, the purpose of these external reviews is to present status on the project, and a lot of times we present technical material at these external reviews as well. One of the goals is to get approval for accomplishing part of the project goals, and then approval to continue on, continue working on the remainder of the project. It allows us a good checkpoint for making mid-course corrections, adjustments to our project plan. And if we didn't hold these external reviews periodically, we might just march off in the wrong direction and wouldn't even realize it. So it's a good idea to hold these periodically. In the iterative development approach, iterative life cycle or incremental life cycle, like we talked about earlier, these reviews are sort of like every iteration. So it gives us a very frequent chance to keep our project on track. Here's some of the participants in these reviews. Right? Okay, so that's our discussion of reviews of various types. And as I said, we're going to be holding a design review of your design of your project shortly.